Okay, so we are also live on YouTube. So I also welcome all the live streamers and the people who are watching this video on YouTube to this session on e-invoicing. We'll be beginning the session in another couple of minutes. Thank you. Okay, so very good evening to all the participants who have joined us today in this live webinar through Zoom portal or through our live streaming on YouTube. Today we are going to discuss about a very important topic, which is invoicing. We have been talking about it from past few months, but now there is a latest notification dated 11th of November, by which now officially it has been mandatory for all the businesses having turnover greater than 100 CR to issue e-invoicings. It was a rumor, but now with the notification, it has been mandatory. And it's only 40 days which are left before this things comes to live. So we have a very small time left to finalize the vendor and to understand the entire thing. And it is not a easy task. So for this, we have our for this we have CA Rajeev Khandelwal ji with us to explain us in detail the journey of e-invoicing and how to get ready and finalize your vendor for e-invoicing, which is going to be live for 100 CR companies having turnover more than 100 CR in another 40 days. Just to add, and before beginning the webinar, please use the chat section to ask any queries. Our speaker of the day, CA Rajeev Khandelwal ji, who is also the director of our organization, will take all the queries at the end of the session. With this, I would pass on the relay to CA Rajeev Khandelwal ji to begin with the session.
Thank you, Shubham. Good evening, participants. So today's session, as he has told you, is about e-invoicing, and I think many of you would be new to invoicing if you've not already attended the other sessions. So many things will be new to you, and I'll be talking about those things. So let us begin right away. Invoicing is not something very new because the world over it's already been for quite some time, and it has been successfully implemented in many countries. And now in India, it was many people thought that something like e-invoicing could not be implemented in India. Now the government needs to be patted on its back because it's been able to implement it in a successful manner, and been able to implement it in a successful manner. And the statistics which are there on the screen will just now come. As you can see that in these cases, slowly and gradually, the number of e-invoices and the number of taxpayers who are using it is increasing. And even in the first week, we had around 70 lakh e-invoices issued by around 71,000 taxpayers. And this count is increasing every day. It reached to around 18 lakhs per day in 15 days by 15th of October. And around 31,476 GSTIN had issued 8.5 crore invoices, and over the unique assessees were around 5,070. And let us understand that this invoices can be generated in several ways. It can be used by some for smaller SSEs, some Excel utility, etc. can be used, but obviously that process is a manual process. It is prone to errors, and most of these, because as of now, only 500 crore entities who have turnover above 500 crores can generate invoices. So that is why they have gone for complete integration through GSP ERP integration, and GSP services have been used in most of these cases, integrated facilities. And as you are aware that this notification had come on the first, that with effect from 1st of January 2021, for people having turnover or SSCs having turnover above 100 crores will be mandated to issue e-invoices with effect from 1st January 2021. And not only that, in by 1st of April, the government is intending that for everyone, e-invoice will become mandatory. So with this in background, and even earlier we were saying that the government intends to make it mandatory with effect from 1st of January for 100 to 500 crore, but people thought that it was not possible. So now we don't have much of time, some 40, 50 days remain hardly, and a lot needs to be done. Similarly, even for smaller assessees who are below 100 crores, they should also start preparations right away because 1st of April is also not very far. And since 500 crore plus companies are already implementing and using e-invoicing properly, there are no issues. That is why the government is encouraged to implement it to a wider range of assessees. So e-invoice means an invoice with an IRN or an invoice reference number. And as you're aware, that with effect from 1st October 2020, it was mandatory for assessees having turnover above 500 crores. And from 1st of January 2021, it will be mandatory for assessees having a turnover from 100 to 500 crore. And this turnover is to be seen on a company level or a PAN level. So all the assessees having the same PAN number within the same company or the same assessee, the turnover is to be counted like that. It is not DSTIN wise you have to see the turnover. And what aggregate turnover of which year we have to see? It has to be from the initiation of GST any year. So it may be 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. And if the turnover exceeds 100 crores, in that case, invoice will become mandatory. Now, what? Now, I'm sure some practicing CAs would also be in this webinar. How many are there? Any practicing CAs here? Please answer in the chat box. Yeah, just say yes if you are a practicing CA. Yeah, we have many practicing CAs also. Fine. So, and it's good that you have joined here, but the general perception when I talk to various CAs is that what is it in for me? Invoicing is relating to the company just as invoicing the company was doing. Now, e-invoicing the company will be doing, but it's not so because now everything is interlinked. And if you just sit like that and say let them handle it, and when the time comes to file the returns, etc., then I'll see. But by then the mess would have been done, and there would be problems, and there will be issues for you and the company, obviously. And at that stage, the company would probably say that why did you not advise us? Obviously, you do not need to get into the technicalities. What all issues are there? We are here to handle those technicalities. Somebody has raised his hand. We can unmute him if he wants to say something. So you don't need to get into the technicalities, but the legal aspects, the practical aspects, obviously, we as chartered accountants have to understand, and we have to handhold our clients. So first, understanding is required. पहले आप समझ लीजिए, and then उन्हें guide करिए so that they can do this e-invoicing thing in a proper manner. And obviously, the turnover criteria has been lowered, and so many more assessees are now coming in this view of e-invoicing. And the thing is that bigger corporates, they are more organized. I think each one of us will agree that bigger corporates are more organized. They have the wherewithal to have staff which is much more qualified, and for each department, they're separate departments. For below 500 crore companies, maybe some departments are merged. A particular person or a few persons are looking after the entire thing. But in bigger corporates, they are more organized, and that is why this help will be required from our side to such corporates where the turnover is 100 to 500 crores, because they are not that organized and they obviously need more support for us. And I think it's we are not supposed to see this as a problem. This is a win-win situation for all. Obviously, the government will benefit if e-invoicing is implemented properly, even for smaller corporates. And for us also, and first the company, there are experts to take care of them. They, for the smaller corporates below 100 crores or even 100 to 500 crores, there are sometimes medium companies, and the turnover is because it may be dealing in gold or some trading is happening. That is why the turnover is 100 to 500. But in levels, in operations, it is not that big a corporate. So in that case, the company will be helped because you as an expert are there to take care of the company. And obviously, it's a new professional opportunity for you also. And if you properly handle these things, it will definitely help you later on when you are filing the returns or you are preparing GSTR 9, 9C, etc. And all these things, because now they are more or less done simultaneously and one after the other. E-Webel is also linked, returns are also linked. So it will create a mess if these things are not looked into now. Applicable turnover, which turnover should be? It should be whether it should be as per the P&L. Quick response. Somebody is asking whether it is applicable only for a company who is doing export of services or domestic only. No, even for exports it's applicable. So which turnover is to be seen? Whether it is the turnover as the profit and loss account or some other turnover? So it is the turnover as per the GST. Whatever the GST says is the turnover, including all taxable supplies, tax-free supplies, branch transfers, all these have to be included. Exempt, non-taxable, out of the purview of GST. So everything is to be included. And so the GSTR 9 turnover, or say some the auditor add some more things in the GSTR 9 turnover in GSTR 90. So that turnover has to be seen. And if the turnover is above the specified threshold, in that case, an e-invoice is mandatory and it is applicable with effect from 1st January for 100 to 500 crore turnover. And in this case, the invoice data is uploaded at the invoice registration portal, which I'll be referring as IRP. And obviously, when we upload the data at the portal, we will get an IRN or the invoice reference number and a QR code from there. This QR code will be obtained from the IRP only. And it will be mandatory to print this QR code on the printed invoice. So these things are there. And in the case of 500 crore more companies or having turnover of 500 crores or more, a physical invoice will be issued as they are issuing till now. We were talking earlier, we were talking about B2B. In all these cases, e-invoice is mandatory. For B2C, they can still continue to, or in fact, they will have to still issue a physical invoice. But with effect from 1st December 2020, this was postponed. Earlier, it was from 1st October only. From 1st December 2020 onwards, they have to issue a physical invoice. No data is to be uploaded at the portal, etc. But a QR code should be there on the invoice, which should be self-generated. So there is a difference. In the case of B2B invoices, you have to upload the data at the portal and you will get the QR code, which is to be printed on the physical invoice or the soft copy of the invoice that you are giving to the party. But in the case of B2C invoices, even for when you go to let's say a Haldiram or a Bikaner Wala, where you get invoices, since the turnover is more than 500 crores, in that case, you will get a QR code there, but it will be generated by the party itself and not be generated from the government portal. Some sectors are as of now exempt: the transportation sector, the goods transport, passenger transport, the cinema halls, multiplex, etc., where electronic ticket is already issued by them. Then insurance companies, banking companies, all these are as of now exempt. And this exemption is to the particular entity. So if a bank is exempt, that means all the activities carried by it are exempt. And obviously, the major thing should be the banking. The major thing is something else, and a very small, minuscule part is only banking. In that case, probably the government needs to clarify. In that case, whether e-invoicing will be applicable or not. But for all the major banks, insurance companies, etc., special economic zones, e-invoicing as of now is not applicable. It is invoices issued by them. If you are issuing invoices to an SEZ or an insurance company or to a bank, obviously, if e-invoicing is applicable, you will have to issue e-invoices to them also. So what is the brief process of e-invoicing? Let us try and understand. First of all, the invoice will be generated as usual from your accounting or the ERP package. And thereafter, it will be converted into JSON format, the format which is required by the department. It will be uploaded in the invoice registration portal, and there a unique invoice reference number and QR code will be generated. And the data with IRN and QR code will be provided to the supplier. And invoice data will be given to the GST Common portal and e-Waybill portal also. So this is the brief process that will happen. And when we say e-invoice, what does it mean? Whether it means invoice, obviously it means invoice, but it also includes debit notes and credit notes. And any other document which is specified by the government. As of now, no other document has been specified. So all these documents, whether it is an invoice, debit note, credit note, in all these cases, if invoicing is applicable, we have to issue electronic invoice in the electronic format. Now, somebody was asking this question that if the invoice was prior to 1st of October, but a debit note or credit note in relation to that invoice was raised after 1st of October, or let's say 1st of January in the case of companies having turnover from 100 to 500 crores. In that case, e-invoicing will be applicable even though the invoice was prior to the specified date, and because the credit note or the debit note are being issued in the current date, then e-invoicing has become applicable. So in that case, even that will be applicable. In case of input service distributor, invoices or debit note raised by him, invoicing is not applicable. That has been clarified. And what about delivery challan? When you transfer material to your own branches within the same state, let's say, or a bill of supply for exempt goods, or material is being sent by you for job work, etc. In that case, again, it has been clarified that e-invoicing is not applicable, and you can still issue the physical challans, etc., as you are issuing. Now, the government has specified the particular format, and as you might understand, or if you are not aware, now onwards, all the invoices which are issued as e-invoices will be in a similar format. I might say the same format, but I would not say same, because some fields somebody may be using, some other fields some other people may not be using. So it will be in a similar format, and for that purpose, the government has specified the schema. And I think there is no need to get into too many technical details, but I'll just tell you what a schema is about. Schema is basically all the fields that are there in the invoice, like the invoice details, supplier information, buyer information, item details, document total, etc. These are the mandatory fields. In the schema, some of the fields are mandatory, some of the fields are optional. So as you can see in the screen, first 5 items, these are mandatory. Obviously, the basic invoice detail should be there, supplier and the buyer information should be there, the item detail should be there, amount, etc. should be there. Other than that, chip to details, batch details, etc., they may be necessary or compulsory for some companies like pharmaceuticals, etc., but they may not be necessary for all. Similarly, e-waybill details, it's up to you to give these details. It's not mandatory as of now. So this was the summary of the schema. And some of the items, like again, you can see GSTN of the supplier, GSTN of the buyer, quantity, etc. These are the mandatory fields, but others are optional fields. Quantity in the case of service, you can give plan. Now, another thing, that the maximum number of items that can go in the invoices, in the e-way bill, you must be aware that it is 250 items. I think everybody is aware, if the number of items is more than 250, then items which will go in the e-way bill, maximum items can go in only 250. In the e-invoice, they are giving the facility of giving up to 1,000 items. So why this mismatch and how it will be handled? So it doesn't matter if even if the invoice has 600 or 700, 900 or 1,000 items. In that case, only the top 250 items will go on the e-way bill. So there is no issue. They have resolved this issue. The top 250 items will go in the e-way bill. No issues with that. This is the JSON format in which the e-invoice is prepared, and it is the same format in which our returns, GST returns, are going. So we are familiar with this format, and the government has given this facility or this responsibility to NIC to make registrations portal for it, and the government will be in times to come putting on 9 more portals. One portal has already been put on, has been activated, and it is through that portal that all these invoices. And see, the capacity of the portal must be great, because till now we are not facing any problems that big corporates, they have a huge number of invoices. They're not facing any problems, though even just as of now, only one portal has been activated. But the government, so when the entire country will start uploading e-invoices, probably from 1st April 2021. In that case, the government will be putting around 10 portals, and this is being done to ensure that there is no issues in uploading of these invoices. And already one portal has been activated, that's already functional. This einvoice1.gst.gov.in. And here, if you have the credentials, you can log in and see all these facilities. So what happens at the invoice registration portal? Let us see now that the data is validated on the portal. Invoice number should be unique. No invoice number can be uploaded at the portal more than once. If you try to do that, obviously it will be rejected. And also the GSTN of the buyer and the seller should be proper and active. If obviously the seller would be active, but if the buyer, the GSTN is not active, then it will reject that. Wrong, deleted, or cancelled GSTNs. And also in other cases, errors will be thrown if the first I told you the IRN is duplicate or the invoice number is duplicate, or if in the case of interstate supply you are giving CGST and SGST instead of IGST, or the HSN code is invalid, or the taxable value of all items is not matching with the total taxable value, or the total invoice value is not matching. In all these cases, it will throw errors. We will have to correct the data and again upload the data. So what will happen at the portal? All these things will happen. Data validation, once the data is valid, it will be registered at the portal. An invoice reference number will be generated, which will be unique, and a QR code will be generated. So this will be the entire process at the portal. There will be no registration without all mandatory fields in e-invoice. So again, what will happen there? We will make an IRN request to the portal, to the e-invoice system, and from there, what will be getting once everything is proper, everything is okay. We will get an invoice reference number, an e-waybill number if the entire data of the e-waybill is there, signed QR code, and a signed invoice. All these things will be getting from the portal. Okay, I think it's time for some queries. Vinod Narang has raised his hand. Can you unmute him? We'll try and answer to his query. What will the process of cancellation? Let us first generate the e-invoice, then we'll see how it is cancelled. Can you unmute Vinod Narang? Akash or Shubham?
Yes, sir, I'm trying.
Okay. Yes, can
Hello,
you?
Vinod ji.
वो नहीं आ रहा है लाओ और करता
Anyway, we can have some queries on the chat also if voice is not audible or there's an issue. I've already seen there are a few queries. Can we generate future date invoices? No, you cannot. They have to be of the current date or a past date. Can the e-invoice number and the client's invoice serial number be the same, or can it be different? E-invoice number will be different because that is generated by the portal, and that will be I think it will be better if we restrict the queries at this moment, because many of the queries will be answered during the course of the presentation itself, and thereafter you will understand. So I think yes, invoice will be generated on a real-time process on a basis. I think we'll get back to the presentation, and most of the queries will be answered there. Thereafter, which remains, then we'll take those queries on. So what will happen simultaneously when we upload the data at the portal? Let us see. Simultaneously, e-way bill portal will be updated. If the necessary data is there, the e-way bill portal will also be updated. Updation of GSTR1 of the supplier and updation of GSTR2A, 2B of the buyer. Simultaneously, all these things will also happen. Now, coming to the basic question, what is the basis of IRN? How IRN will be generated and what will be the basis of IRN? Let us see. IRN will be generated on the basis of GSTN of the supplier, financial year, document type, whether it is invoice, credit note, or debit note, and the invoice number, etc. It will be generated. So let us see if this is the GSTN and these are the invoice number, etc., year, etc. On this basis, process of hashing will take place at the portal, and what we will get is this will be the invoice reference number or the IRN. It is also called hash in technical language. So I think now you can understand that the invoice number and the e-invoice number cannot be the same, because this is a 64-digit alphanumeric number, and obviously it will be different from the invoice number. Even if it is, and obviously you are aware that the invoice number cannot be more than 16 digits. So it will be 16 digits, then year and the invoice number, etc., and the GSTN that don't make up 64 numbers. And obviously, this IRN has to be stored in the ERP. That is how we'll know whether for this particular invoice has been generated or not. And this is how the signed invoice will look like. How many of you can read it? Just tell me what's written in this invoice, signed invoice. Can anyone read it? Because it is encrypted. Because it is encrypted, and tools will be provided by the department, both online and through apps, etc., through which we can decrypt it and read it. It will be something like this. Acknowledgement number is there, the acknowledgement date is there, GST, etc., is there, which on the right hand side you can read. And we will get the signed invoice from the portal. And once we get the signed e-invoice from the portal, in that we cannot make any change. Not even a dot, full stop, comma, exclamation mark can be there. If we try and play around with that, it will become invalid. Nothing more can be done with that. And there's a facility at the government portal where you can upload the JSON file that you are receiving. Even from somebody else, you are receiving the JSON file as an invoice. You can upload that at the portal and at this particular place and check whether it is proper or not. And we will get this type of data where we can read the data, what details it contains will be readable. And we can also verify whether it is a correct or a valid e-invoice or not. Now, an important rule 46 sub-rule R, which states that e-invoice should contain the quick reference code having embedded IRN in it. Notification number 72 of 30th of September. And this kind of QR code should be there on the invoice. That's mandatory. And this QR code is made up of unique IRN, digital signature, and the important invoice data. It is a proof of receipt of at the government portal or acceptance by the IR. Now, what does this signed QR code look like? It will look like this. And when decrypted, it will be like this. So what all data is in the QR code? Let us see. It contains the GSTN of the buyer, GSTN of the seller, invoice number, invoice date, invoice value, which is the taxable value, and the gross tax, number of items, HSN of the most valuable item, and the invoice reference number. QR code is made up of all these things. Just now we saw that also. And the government has also given a mobile app through which we can read this QR code and get what all value it contains. In the iOS platforms, iPhones, etc., there's some problem in the app. Even today I tried in doing that, but some problem is there. I think in the other phones, I think that should be working. In times to come, they will correct that also. So this is how it is decrypted, and you can read the necessary information when you scan the QR code through your mobile app provided by the government. It's not available on the Play Store. You have to go to the portal and request. You can give your mobile number, and then OTP will come, message will come, which through which you can click and download the app. This was for B2B invoices. Now for B2C invoices, if you remember, I told you that these invoices are not to be uploaded in the portal. तो आपके consumers को invoice आप issue करेंगे, उनको आपको portal पे upload नहीं करना, अभी भी आपको physical invoices issue करनी है, और उसमें भी लेकिन एक QR code होगा, तो आपको खुद generate करना है. आप या आपका ERP या Webtel जो आपका service provider बनेगा इसके लिए, वो आपके लिए इस you can make a dynamic QR code for your B2C invoices. So something like this, and just try use your Paytm app on your mobiles and try and scan it through your Paytm apps. Let's see what you get and tell me on the chat. Fast. Use the Paytm app on your mobile to scan this. It's encrypted, but the Paytm app on mobile, it will help you decrypt it. Let me see what you are getting. Anybody? Are you able to scan it through your Paytm app? So anyway, if you don't have the Paytm app, or Ayush Bansal has been able to do it, Puneet Singh and so others also. So and it is something different. Normally, what we go to various shops and scan the QR code, we have to put in the amount. Now in this B2C, this facility is there. This because it is a dynamic QR code. Even Nadeem China is the recipient who will be receiving this money, and the 10 rupees is also automatically coming. So this is the a new thing that you don't have to key in the money. I think normally when we go to these stores and scan the QR code with the Paytm app or the Beam app, etc., you have to key in the money also, amount also. So it's going a step further. You won't have to key in that. You just have to press the button OK, but please ensure the amount is correct. So for 10 rupees, you should not be paying 10,000 rupees, because if you don't take it, if it's wrong. But obviously, if proper invoice is there, proper QR code is there, this will not happen. So this is the beauty of technology, how it makes our life simpler. It will show the invoice value. Yeah. If you're going to Haldiram and there the amount is 523 rupees, so it will show 523, and you click on the button and the amount will be and many people are facing problems in generation of this B2C QR code. So Webtel is offering those services also, besides obviously B2B invoices, generation of QR code and uploading in the portal, etc. And this data will go to a central registry. This data will be there for only 24 hours at these invoice registration portals. And from there, the data will be pushed to the central registry. And regarding amendments, obviously, when we do our work, we also make mistakes, etc. Also, so there should be facility for making amendments. But let me tell you that at the invoice registration portal, there is no facility to make changes. You cannot make any changes at the invoice registration portal to the invoice that you have uploaded. The normal way of amendment is at the portal, at the GSTN portal that you are doing in the normal way. So for different time periods, there are different ways you can change the invoices. How that's done, let us see. So at the invoice registration portal, you can make cancellations, not amendments, just cancellation up to 24 hours. जब भी आपने डेटा अपलोड किया, इनवॉइस अपलोड किया, उसके 24 आवर्स तक आप कैंसिल कर पाएंगे ये डेटा एट द इनवॉइस रजिस्ट्रेशन पोर्टल. After 24 hours till the filing of the return, you can do the changes at the GST common portal and you log in. And after 24 hours, or rather after filing the return, you can make amendments in the return, in the subsequent returns as you are doing now. So this is how it will be done. RCM invoice, I think somebody is asking. RCM invoices, B2B invoices have to be issued as e-invoices. B2C invoices are not to be issued as e-invoices. And if e-waybill is also generated, then in that case, directly you cannot cancel the e-invoice. First, e-waybill has to be cancelled. Thereafter, only you can cancel the IRN. Invoice with the transporter, obviously, the documentation remains. You should ensure that the transporter has the physical copy of the invoice. Now, the government has also made the change that even if the invoice is available in an electronic format, like the scanned e-invoices there or the e-invoices there in the mobile phone, even that is sufficient. That should not be a problem because Rule 138A sub Rule 2 has been amended, which says the QR code having an embedded IRN in it may be produced electronically for verification by the proper officer in lieu of the physical copy of the invoice. So it's another paid facilitation. अभी तक फिजिकल इनवॉइस जरूरी था. आप कई बार आप प्रिंट आउट नहीं निकाल पाते, आप फोटोकॉपी नहीं करा पाते या इनवॉइस के प्रिंट आउट नहीं निकल पाते बिकॉज ऑफ सम प्रॉब्लम. इन दैट केस electronic copy is also sufficient. What about e-waybill? Is e-waybill still necessary for transport of goods? It is. As of now, there is no change in the process of e-waybill generation. It will continue to be generated and carried with the invoice, or the invoice e-waybill number should be there electronically. And obviously, it can be generated together with the invoice also. Whether we should generate e-waybill part A, part B, both with the e-invoice, government is giving you the facility. But you will remember that when you generate the part B, in that case, the time that is there based on the distance that starts from that moment. When you generate part A, then the time does not start. But when you generate part B, your time starts. And if you give all the information regarding part B also, then part B will be generated. So e-way will be generated fully and your time will start from that very instance. But if there is some time lag between generation of e-invoice and dispatch of the material, then please part B should be updated separately as you're doing now. And this is how the printed e-invoice will look like. It can be printed based on the acknowledgement number that we get or the invoice reference number, either of the two. Now, some people ask whether a logo can be printed in the invoice. Obviously, we like to see our logos on the invoice. So when you upload the data on the portal, that cannot be done. But once you get it or issue a physical copy or a PDF copy to the party, the logo can be there. Another important rule is Rule 48 sub Rule 5, which states that every invoice issued by a person to whom e-invoicing is applicable in any manner other than the manner specified in the said sub rule shall not be treated as an invoice. छोटा सा प्यारा सा एक रूल है, ये सब रूल है, लेकिन इसके implications बहुत हैं. Huge ramifications of this sub rule. Why? Can anybody tell me what are the ramifications or consequences of this sub rule? That an invoice which should be issued as an e-invoice is not issued as an e-invoice, as a paper invoice or something, then what will be the consequences? Anybody? An invoice without an IRN's penalty for non-compliance, ITC will not be allowed. Yes, I'm getting the answers. An invoice without an IRN or a QR code will not be treated as an invoice. And recently we ordered some things, laptop, etc., from I think Flipkart, etc. And there we got this invoice, and I saw obviously this IRN was there, it seemed proper, and we could have verified it from the portal also. And the invoice number is different, and the IRN is different, as you can see. And another laptop which was ordered, in that case, see the IRN is proper, invoice number is there. And in another case, we got the QR code is just pasted something like this, and the IRN and the invoice number were the same, which cannot happen. So again, I might be facing problems in this because the QR code has not been properly, or IRN has not been generated. I'm following up with the seller that this problem might arise, and I might not get ITC on the laptop. So please be careful. And so people, you as a supplier, probably you are below 100 crore mark as of now, and e-invoicing may be applicable to you from 1st of April, or the chartered accountants who have the clients who are below 100 crore turnover. Please ensure that for all the parties, all the suppliers who are supplying goods or services to them who are above 500 crores or above 100 crores from 1st of January, you need to see that you're receiving e-invoices from them. Otherwise, you won't be able to get ITC on them because they are not treated as invoice. So again, need to be careful, very careful about this. Otherwise, there will be issues, and there will maybe disputes, etc. Obviously, these penalties, etc., are there, which we are talking about. And obviously, since it's not an invoice, there may be seizure of vehicle and goods. Department is very vigilant, and obviously, and your goods will be delayed, and all those issues will be there. Penalty will be there. Minimum penalty of 20,000 rupees, because minimum penalty of 10,000 in both acts. So minimum penalty of 20,000 rupees, maximum penalty to the amount of tax. So if the amount of tax is let's say 100 rupees, so 100, 200 rupees, so penalty will be 20,000 rupees. But the amount of tax is 2 lakh rupees, so penalty will be up to 2 lakh rupees. So please be careful. And obviously, the poor purchaser, because of no fault of his, will not be able to get ITC. Some questions are being asked. I'll try and answer them in the next part. Let me try and quickly finish it. I think we are getting to the closure of the event, and the time I think is around 4:40 now. And regarding digital signatures on invoice, Rule 46 says about that signature or digital signature of the supplier or his authorized representative should be there. And also a QR code should be there in a manner which has been prescribed. So a signature or a digital signature should be there. So if you are issuing a physical invoice, after printing the QR code, you can sign it manually, or you can use digital signature. That facility is also there. So if the number of invoices is huge, then you can use the facility of using digital signatures. And we have a product also, Baby Sign, which helps in bulk signing of the invoices. So that's allowed, and you can use that. So in the case of a paper invoice, if we are issuing a paper invoice, a signature, a manual signature or a digital signature is required. Similarly, for a PDF invoice also. For an e-invoice, if you are issuing only the invoice to the party, no signature or digital signature is required. So if you want, you can sign it, but it's not mandatory. So it could be like a signature like this or a signature like this. Physical B2C invoices, even those, I think most of the people are doing this mistake. They are not signed, and it's written, since it's a computer generated invoice, no signature is required. There's nothing like that. It's never allowed. But since these are generally consumers and they are not supposed to get ITC on that, and nobody is bothering. But again, this is non-compliance if it is not signed invoice. And in the case of E-way bill, etc. Also, it's a problem. But filing of returns, etc. Sometimes, if your returns are late, etc., 1 or 2 days delay is there. The government also many a times gives the fee, late filing fees, etc. You are able to manage things. But here, if you are not ready on the 1st of January or 1st of April for others also, then your business will stop, will not be able to issue invoices. So obviously, I think none of us wants that. So it is all the more important, and we should ensure that we are ready much before 1st of January. Now, another question was arising: how do we know that which vendor is above 500 crores or not? So there's a facility at the e-invoice portal where we can go and check whether the party is e-invoice enabled or not, it's applicable to it or not. We can punch in the GSTIN and we can see whether it is e-invoice enabled or not. And recently, they've also given a facility whereby they are providing an Excel file where they are giving a list of parties or the SSCs or the GSTIN who are generating INN or the invoice reference number or the invoice. From there, you can check, you can punch in the particular GSTIN and take from there also. So all these facilities are available. These were the technical issues, not really technical issues, the practical issues and also the statutory issues that we covered, or the basic understanding about e-invoice. Now, some operational issues are also there. Now, the invoice for the buyer, whether it should be a paper invoice or a physical invoice. Now, the government does not say anything. Once it is uploaded at the portal, you may issue an invoice to the party, you may issue a physical invoice to the party, you may issue both the invoices to the party. And the party, and as per your convenience, if it wants both, give both. If it's okay with a physical invoice or an electronic invoice, do that. If it is a physical invoice, the number of copies required again depends on you, whether you still want to give to the buyer, whether you the transporter may not be comfortable in the initial period, you may also want a copy, you or your accounts department or your stores, etc., you may also be wanting a copy, so that may be required. So number of physical copies, the law does not mandate anything now as of and in GST, it's up to you, up to your requirement. Then whether for we need to have a separate series for e-invoice and the physical invoice, because simultaneously the two will go, because B2C you cannot issue e-invoices as of now. In the times to come, the government will do that also. But as of now, even if you want, you cannot issue e-invoices for B2C cases, physical invoices to be issued. So again, the law is not saying anything, but you have to see whether for physical invoices and the e-invoices, you should have a separate series. As chartered accountants, as people who will like to have a audit trail, proper audit trail, I think a separate series is suggested, is better, because we'll be able to see for this series there is no need to have an invoice. For the other series, which is electronic invoices, obviously the IRN should be there. So I think that will be better. But this is not a statutory requirement. This is a practical issue. In signing, whether physical signature will be used, whether digital signature will be used. So all these things will have to be seen by you. And this has nothing to do with law. These are the practical issues. Who will do all these things? Conversion of data in JSON format, upload of invoice data in the portal, download of IRN QR code, saving IRN or the QR code in ERP, generation of invoice with QR code, printing of PDF paper invoice. Webtel, as you're aware, is already into various software solutions, compliance solutions, and for the as GST has come, we saw the need for corporates also that needed help in compliance solutions, in e-way solutions, and from time to time we have come out with various solutions for corporates for e-invoice, and now with e-invoice we are already doing invoicing offering. Many of the corporates are happily generating invoices from our solutions, integrated solutions with the ERPs, SAP, Sage, Oracle, etc., Microsoft Dynamics, BAN, etc. We are already doing these integrations, and people are successfully generating invoices. And obviously, e-way bill also we're doing for many corporates. Many of them are using our integrated solutions, and we are also a partner with Tally for generation of invoices. and we are listed on the Tally portal also for this purpose, e-invoice. And regarding the various ERPs like SAP, etc., we are offering the various facilities like through APIs or the application programming interface, wherein there is total integration, and either the company can use those APIs, integrate those with the ERPs like SAP, and or we can directly integrate with that. So that is direct integration, and at the click of a button, you are able to upload the invoices, generate invoices, get the IRN that gets saved in your ERP. So it is that simple, and 100% integration is there. Also, like this, it will be something like this. The methodology is the same as in used in e-bill, and here the data transfer takes place using APIs. Webtel fetches the e-invoice data from the ERP of the client, uploads on the IRP, and also IRN is saved on the ERP, which is obtained from the government portal. So this is the basic process, and that is used for signing and printing of invoice also. Other than that, we have other solutions also for SAP and other ERPs like T codes, where we use T codes which can be integrated with APIs. In that case, again, this is partial integration. And to another extent, there is another option where we can use a file transfer protocol or FTP, whereby the data is fetched from the SAP, put in on a particular location. There, from there, the data is fetched and sent to the portal, and from there the data is obtained, the e-invoice data is obtained, and then that is pushed at the FTP, and from there it is taken by the ERP. So different solutions are there. I won't not like to get into too many technical details, and this is how the things will take place. So this was about the invoicing, and let me another 5 minutes let me take to show you how things will happen in SAP. Let me try and show you that. Thereafter, we'll take the question answers. So here in SAP, we will go, and this is the invoice dashboard, where either we can put in the particular invoice number or type of invoice, and then generate IRN for that, or alternatively, can go to the dashboard, and there all the invoices will be there, which have already been, invoice has already been generated, and those for which the invoice has not been generated. So we are going to the dashboard now. Here you'll be able to see. Yes, here we'll be able to see the invoices for IRN has been generated already in these cases, and for the others, like in the case of 76 and 77, it has not been generated. And now we'll try and generate it. That I'm showing the screen of SAP.
सर आप म्यूट हो गए हैं सर राजीव सर
Now this is how the invoice will look like. PDF format, which can be shared with the party and for your records also, containing all these details. The other one that you see there's an error is coming. The HSN is not correct, and the amount, some mismatch is there. So we will first go, and on the same screen we can go and correct the changes can be made in the bill. CGST amount, the IGST amount, I'm correcting that. Now I will try and generate it again. invoice number 77. So now that has been generated. And then the next one, this was already generated. Now let me see for this next one. Okay, let me cancel this IRN. Yes, now this IRN has been cancelled because the cancellation facility is also required if we make mistakes. And after this cancellation, but for that you'll need to give the comments why you want to cancel it. Data entry mistake is there, or some remarks you can enter. After that, you'll be able to cancel. We'll click on cancel IRN like this here, and it will be cancelled. And as you can see, cancel is coming here. Let us see now how the invoice will look like. It will have a watermark of cancelled, as you can see. Please don't use it. It is absolutely null and void. It cannot be used for the transport, etc. Now coming to the next invoice, which we got an error. Now try and generate it. We will correct this error here. The HSN was incorrect. PST was incorrect. Now we will pick it and try and generate IRN for this. Generate IRN, and IRN has been generated successfully. In this case. There are many other facilities. Due to positive time, I'll not like to show those to you. Facilities like making changes or seeing the various details on the same screen itself. You don't need to go to the other screens of SAP to all these changes. So this was in brief how we can generate data from SAP. Similarly, it has been done with other ERPs also, and with Tally also, with other accounting packages also. So that was all the basic things I wanted to talk to you, share with you the basic things, the legal aspects, the practical aspects, and all these things. Now I think we are ready for the question answer session. You can write in the chat box, or if you want to speak, you can raise your hand and then he can unmute you. API, Sanjeev Gupta is asking, APIs is basically a program. It is written to talk to the SAP or the other ERP or another software. So it is a software which is, and let me tell you, Webtel is an ASP GSP. There are some GSPs which are only GSPs, and but we are DSP, which is basically taking the data from your site to the government portal, pushing the data there, like Vodafone, etc., which is transmitting the data. Like that, we are doing that service. And API is application service provider, which is so software provided, so to say. So we are a software provider also, and we make softwares. And APIs are nothing but softwares which are made to talk to the ERP. So application programming interface, the two talk, and from there the data is pulled and pushed to the government portal. So that is there. Yes, can we have other questions? You can ask either on the chat box, or you can raise your hand and he'll unmute you. Shubham, Akash, can you unmute these people who want to talk?
हेलो
Yeah.
हेलो राजीव जी
Yeah, please ask. Go ahead.
हाँ राजीव जी, जो अभी आपने एसएपी का जो स्क्रीन दिखाया था, इसके अंदर एसएपी का रोल कहाँ तक रहता है और आप लोगों का रोल कहाँ पे आता है इसके अंदर?
इसमें देखिए, एक
जैसे
तो
आपने पूरा का पूरा दिखाया था,
हाँ जी,
जैसे आपने दिखाया पूरा जनरेट आयरन और सब कुछ जो था इसके अंदर, ये एसएपी की फंक्शनैलिटी यूज हो रही है या वेबटेल की फंक्शनैलिटी यूज हो रही है?
नहीं, वेबटेल की फंक्शनैलिटी यूज हो रही है। एसएपी तो नॉर्मल जो उसने आपको फैसिलिटी दी है बनाने की इनवॉइस के फॉर्मेट में, उसने फॉर्मेट चेंज किया होगा रिसेंटली टू कंफर्म टू द इनवॉइस फॉर्मेट। वो उस पर काम किया है। उसके बियॉन्ड जो भी सारा काम है टी कोड्स वगैरह का या एपीआईज का, वो सारा काम हमने किया है। तो वो कुछ लोग टी कोड्स के थ्रू करना चाहते हैं, कुछ एपीआईज के थ्रू करना चाहते हैं, कुछ टोटल इंटीग्रेशन चाहते हैं, तो हम सब तरह की फैसिलिटीज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं। हम या तो एपीआईज आपको प्रोवाइड करेंगे या एपीआईज आप लोग भी बना सकते हैं। इसमें अलग अलग लोग हैं, वो अलग अलग तरीके से काम कर रहे हैं। फुल इंटीग्रेशन में एवरीथिंग इज बीइंग टेकन केयर ऑफ बाय वेबटेल।
सो बेसिकली सॉफ्टवेयर का रोल रह जाएगा उस फॉर्मेट में जो स्कीमा था, यानी जैसे कोई भी होटल ही हो चाहे एसएपी हो, उसका अपना रोल ये है कि वो जो स्कीमा है उसके हिसाब से इनवॉइस निकाल कर देगा सिस्टम से।
बिल्कुल।
उसके आगे का जो रोल है वो वेबटेल को पुश करके एरर जनरेट करवाएगा। इज दैट द केस?
हाँ, यहाँ से डेटा ले जाएगा, वहां देगा, वहां से डेटा लेगा, वापस देगा, सेव कराएगा, तो ये सारी चीजें वेबटेल करेगा।
और ये ई इनवॉइसिंग के अंदर जो मेरे वेंडर्स हैं, हम उनका इनवॉइस भी सीधा डाउनलोड कर सकते हैं क्या?
उसके लिए भी फैसिलिटीज दी जा सकती हैं, जिसमें हम उन इनवॉइसेस को भी इंपोर्ट कर सकें। दैट कैन आल्सो बी डन।
अभी वो फंक्शनल है ये चीज? अगर मैं मतलब जैसे मेरे पास जो इनवॉइसेस आते हैं, अगर मैं सीधा इस इनवॉइसिंग वाली कैटेगरी में लेना चाहूँ तो इज दैट पॉसिबल?
So that is up to the vendor that you are using. जो भी आप यूज कर रहे हैं, पैकेज क्या है, वो ये फैसिलिटी दे रहा है, वो आप कर सकते हैं, नहीं दे रहा तो भी नहीं कर पाएंगे।
No, what I mean to ask was that let us say अभी तक तो मैनुअल इनवॉइसेस ही आते थे। अभी ये ई इनवॉइस के बाद लेट अस से मेरे पास मान लीजिए एलएनटी का इनवॉइस आया और मैंने उनका मतलब ये मेरे को आईआरएन नंबर दे दो अपना। अब उस नंबर से मैं सीधा जाके अपने वेबसाइट पे जाके या किसी भी रूप से डायरेक्टली इनवॉइस जनरेट कर ले पाऊंगा, डाउनलोड कर पाऊंगा विदाउट अप्रोचिंग टू द एलएनटी?
वेंडर से नहीं, वेंडर आपको भेजेगा ना इनवॉइस, वो या तो फिजिकल भेजेगा या इनवॉइस भेजेगा, या आप उसको कह सकते हैं इनवॉइस दे दीजिए, तो वो आपको इनवॉइस भेजेगा और उससे उसको आप इंपोर्ट कर पाएंगे अगर आपका पैकेज आपको फैसिलिटी दे रहा है तो।
ओके, थैंक यू।
There's a question from Vamshi, whether amendment of amount in original invoice will change the IRN. Amendment cannot be made in an invoice. I told you, till such time it is at the portal, 24 hours you can just cancel it. No amendment is allowed. Once it goes to the GST common portal in your login, you can go and make the changes in the invoice. No issues with that. That is possible. So at the invoice registration portal, only cancellation can take place. So no amendment can take place. Invoice applicable on service invoices? Yes, it is applicable on service invoices also. Yes, Venkat, you can post your query. Can we assume if supplier invoice is carrying IRN number in QR code, it's a valid invoice? You can assume, but you can also go to the portal and check and upload if invoice is provided to you in e-invoice format, you can upload it at the portal and check whether that is correct or not. At least some of them you should check, because just now I showed to you one of the invoices that I received from an e-commerce operator, and there some just picture was pasted and the IRN number, the invoice number was written. So some people may try to fool you like that, or by mistake that is done. So we have to ensure that does not happen. Venkat Ramanna wants to talk. You can unmute him. Yeah, you can talk surely. Please raise your hand. He will unmute you. This trial version available in the GST portal. The government is giving testing facilities at the separate portal. The sandbox facility is there. There you can go and do the testing if it's applicable to you. Please mute if you are not talking, because we are getting unnecessary noises. Another question is from Ravi Chandar. Is e-invoice applicable to RCM invoice? I clarified earlier also, for B2B invoices, RCM invoices, like in the case of a transporter, or in the case of a legal professional, where the person is registered, but still RCM is applicable. In that case, invoicing is applicable. For B2C RCM cases, invoicing is not where you have to issue a self-invoice. Any other invoice? Any other questions? Or we'll be ending the session now. And in the meantime, you can, Shubham, Akash, you can show the QR code and the screen where they can scan it and for further information or integration facilities that Webtel is providing for e-invoices, for
Sir,
people. Yeah, go ahead.
sir, some questions in chat box, please check.
Yeah, I'm seeing those. I think you are asking the same question again, that if we amend the invoice amount, will the IRN change? No, IRN will not change. Obviously, amendment is not allowed at the invoice portal, so you have to cancel. But once 24 hours have passed and you make the changes in the GST common portal in your login, obviously that you can do, but IRN will not change in that case. Sabrish Nair is asking whether the portal is started for 100 crore above taxpayers. Testing is already allowed. You have been enabled, and if you are not enabled, there's a facility whereby you can request them to enable you. Based on the turnover in 3B, they are already enabled many people. And if it for you that has not been done, you can request them at the portal itself, and they'll enable you for the so that testing can start right away. Can we show on the screen the QR code through which they are able to connect to you? Akash, Shubham?
Yes, sir, I will in a second.
For import services, obviously this is not applicable. Imports, because somebody else is sending from outside the country, so that is not applicable. Yes, Punitji, I have already told you that for B2C invoices, the QR code is different. That is to be generated by you yourself or from the ERP that you're using, or Webtel can help you in that, because that is generated from your own data that is not uploaded into portal. And since we've talked about so many things are to be done and many changes, and there are small things which seem to be small, but when you start doing it, जब आप काम करना शुरू करेंगे तो छोटी छोटी चीजों में भी आपको काफी टाइम लगेगा. लाइक आपको सबसे पहले अपने जो इनवॉइस है उसके ऊपर क्यूआर कोड छापना पड़ेगा. आपका ऑलरेडी इनवॉइस में जगह नहीं है कुछ और डेटा डालने की, तो कहीं ना कहीं कुछ फील्ड्स को आपको छोटा करना पड़ेगा, कुछ और करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज क्योंकि क्यूआर कोड उस पर आपको प्रिंट करना है, आईआरएन प्रिंट करना है उसके ऊपर. आईआरएन मैंडेटरी तो नहीं है, बट जनरली पीपल आर प्रिंटिंग दैट आल्सो, क्योंकि पीपल गेट कंफर्ट कि आईआरएन होता है, उससे कंफर्ट आता है, बट क्यूआर कोड कंटेनिंग आईआरएन इज सफिशिएंट, बट जनरली मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर प्रिंटिंग बोथ. तो ये सब चीजें भी आपके लिए काम है. कुछ एडिशनल चीजें, टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस अगर आप डालना चाहते हैं तो वो भी आपको डालनी पड़ेंगी. तो इस तरह की आपको इनवॉइस की डिजाइनिंग करनी पड़ेगी, या आपको you will also have to see all those things, whether physical invoices to be given, whether e-invoices to be given, both have to be given, series, etc., as I told you. So all these things have to be done. So I think we are through with the queries. High C sale also, again, since somebody else is selling the material, so once the person who purchases and he sells it further, then e-invoice will be applicable. Directly high C sale, it's not applicable. So I think we are through with most of the queries, and there's a number on the screen on which you can call and request for help, and our people will get in touch with you for integration. We are providing end-to-end seamless integration for ERPs, for accounting packages, etc., so that at the click of a button, this e-invoice can be generated, or e-waybill can be generated, or both can be generated. And there are other options like T-code, etc., also through which we are doing the integration. So thank you very much for a very patient hearing, and we'll look forward to listening from you, and we'll be happy to resolve your queries. Thank you so much.